Welcome back to another video here on the Brandon Smith YouTube channel. Today we did a tier list for Liverpool FC's current squad, so excluding all players out on loan, just players in the first team. I was joined by my good mate Matthew Jones, who's a massive Liverpool fan, to get his thoughts on the team. We have all the categories, we're going to put them into place. I'll leave a link in the description so you guys can go do it yourself if you would like to, and tweet it to me, Facebook it to me, and make sure to subscribe here on the channel if you're here for the first time. Thank you so much to Football Diehard Fans Facebook group for allowing me to post this on their group. You can also check that group out, link in the description. Okay, so this is the tier. So we have God tier at the top. So this is who are going to be the best players and who are undroppable, who will play every game and are the best players at the club. You got a great player, so someone who's maybe in the starting team and does some really good stuff for the team. Someone who does a job, explains itself. Got potential. This is really for the young players that we feel have a lot of potential for the side but aren't quite there yet to really have a role. Mayor is, they're not, you don't want to get rid of them because they can play a bit part role and do something for the team, but they're not someone that you're that bothered about. And then sell him, obviously, is you want to get rid of him. So Matthew's a Liverpool fan, I'm not, so we're going to have a bit of a different opinions on a few things, but we're just going to crack on with it. First up is Roman Kelleher, a young goalkeeper, and he, for me, can only go in one place, got potential. Has only played a couple of games for Liverpool over the past few years. A young Irish goalkeeper coming through. Matthew, got potential for him, surely?
100% agree. Like, I can't see him as being, does a job player. Although he does a good job when he does play, but I haven't seen enough of him to put him in that category yet. And as well as you say, he's very young. He's got a lot of learning to do until he can, battle it out with Alisson to get that number one goalkeeper spot.
Definitely, and goalkeepers tend to mature later on in their careers. You don't really see the best of goalkeepers till their late 20s, at least early 30s. And so he's got a lot of time. And there'll be a lot of players who've got potential. But what I'm going to say for this kid, I think he needs to go out on loan, Championship football, get regular football, maybe even League One, and just get regular football. And that's the best way to improve. Next up is a new addition to the squad in January. It is Minamino, can either play across the front three or in the midfield. I've got him down as got potential. I think he's still pretty young, and I think he's very, very versatile, can finish off chances really well, get a lot of assists. But for me, he's got potential. What about you, Matt?
The same again. It's the same with Kelleher. We haven't seen enough of him, at least at Liverpool as of yet. We haven't seen what he can purely do. Yes, he's had 2 goals, 1 or 2 assists, but we haven't seen him in his, full gears going. We haven't seen him at his best, I don't think. So yeah, definitely got potential, 100%.
Absolutely. Next up is a goalkeeper. It's Adrian, obviously signed from West Ham last summer on a free transfer. Has played a lot more football than I think you'd expect, obviously, with Alisson getting injured, and has had an up and down time, I feel. For me, he's got to go and does a job. Reason for that is very simple. He does a job. He's not going to be at the level of Alisson. He's not going to be changing games really for you, but he's okay to fill in now and again. What about you, mate?
Agree. I don't think he's got potential, because I think he's already, I don't mean to say it, but he's almost already is at his prime, I think, for the time being at least. He could have a move, it could improve his style, whatever, but at Liverpool at least, I think he's at his prime. Yeah, I've put does a job as well. I can't put him as a great player, because I don't think he is compared to the other players in Liverpool. And as well, he's not, he's decent enough to be okay. He can be either, he's decent enough to say he can be in the starting 11, I believe. But with Alisson, he's not that of that rating, let's say.
Definitely. Next up is the first Englishman on the list. It's Adam Lallana, linked with a move away over the past few weeks. But an interesting career for him, played a lot in the early days, but over the past couple of years, I'd say he's probably dropped down the pecking order at Anfield. I've got him in as does a job. I personally would sell him this summer, but I know you feel a little bit different about that.
Yeah. No, I don't think. I think we need him as more of a sub. So he's proven that he can come on, he can do a few amazing things, and that's why I think Liverpool need him as someone. If they're not having the greatest of games, yes, they can bring on, all the youngsters. But Adam Lallana, he's got the experience in the team as well. He's got the experience playing football. So I think he's a real, not a showstopper, but he's someone we can rely on to bring on for like the last 20 minutes of a game just to finish it off. Or if we need a beautiful goal or a beautiful assist, just whack him on.
Absolutely. So are you happy with does a job?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, we'll put him in there. The first God tier is obviously going to go to this guy. It's Alisson, best goalkeeper in the world. Not much else to say about him. You agree with me, mate?
Well, I think if I didn't agree with you, I'd be a bit deluded or I'd be a bit psycho because he's got to be God tier. He's easily one of the best keepers in the world, in my opinion. Easily one of the best. Even the best, I'd say. Not from a biased opinion, I'd say he's the best keeper in the world. But
I think he's the best in the world as well. I think you could maybe put a case for Ter Stegen at Barca there, Henderson at Man City. I don't think De Gea is the same goalkeeper as he used to be. So Alisson straight into God tier, and it is a fantastic player. Next up, we have Andy Lonnegan, who is a goalkeeper. Not many people know about him. He's 36, joined on a free transfer, hasn't played regular football since 2015 back when he was at Fulham. I don't see why he's there. Sell him, I would say.
Yeah, it was in between sell him for me and it was one of those things that's like, yeah, but we may need him as a backup, but I'm also thinking he's 36. Maybe we just need to get rid of him, get either a youngster in or someone with a bit of experience, but not that age, let's say. Someone of mid-age that has played before in a Premier League style league to someone who we can rely on if Alisson or Adrian gets injured for some reason.
And I think the thing is, you got Alisson, who's world class. You got Adrian, who can do a job. You got Keller, who's got a lot of potential. Do you want a 36-year-old potentially stopping the likes of Kelleher getting that game time? You don't want that. And so I just don't see the point of him being there at all. Next up is a English midfielder. It's Oxlade-Chamberlain. I'm really impressed by this guy. Where would you put him, Matthew?
Personally, it was a really tough one. I was going to put him great player, but then I was thinking the other players that I've put there, I don't think he matches their sort of level that they're playing at the moment. So I've put him in does a job because I haven't seen. He's had quite a few injuries, unfortunately. So I haven't seen enough of him, at least at Liverpool, to say he's a great player. But yeah, I'd put him as. I wish I could put him in between, but if any, I'd do does a job.
Oh, that's interesting because I personally would have put him in great player, but I think we have to take into consideration that he's had injuries and things like that. But I think for England, we're speaking beforehand, and for England, I think him and maybe someone who else, Dele Alli and someone like that. That midfield is a really exciting midfield, and Mason Mount going forward. I think that's really, really exciting. And I think if he hadn't been injured so much, I think he would certainly be starting for England at next year's Euros. I personally would put him in great play, but because you're the Liverpool fan, you have the final decision. So he's going to go in, does a job because you watch your team a lot more than I do, for sure. Next up is a Scottishman, a left-back, potentially one of the best left-backs in the world, alongside Alphonso Davies. It is Andy Robertson. For me, he goes in God tier. His understanding with Trent Alexander-Arnold is really, really good. And I don't like the way he talks to refs on the pitch and talks to players and is a bit naughty on the pitch, but sometimes you need that side of a person in your team. You in agreement with me for God tier?
Definitely, like he plays alongside Arnold absolutely beautifully. Like the balls he does, the passes they do between each other, and even the assists he gets, most of them, well, almost all of them are absolutely beautiful. And I'm guessing you agree because I'm a Liverpool fan.
Yeah.
So do you agree with that statement?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it is a really interesting signing when you got him from Hull. And I think that's what Liverpool have done really well over the past few years, is pick up players to do specific roles. We'll get on to like Shaqiri later. But talking about Adrian was brought in for one role. And to get him on a free, he's probably on a bit of money. But, that's fine for a club like Liverpool. They've really got players in who do a job for them. Like Minamino can come off the bench for the likes of Salah, Mane or Firmino. They've just got the perfect balance in that squad. They may be missing one or two players, but they're not far away from having pretty much the perfect squad. in my opinion. And that's why I think the likes of City, of United, have all fallen behind because City needed a centre-back, didn't go get one, and you look at them now. So, yeah, Andy Robertson in God's ear. It's another youngster now, an Englishman, Curtis Jones, scored a brilliant goal against Everton in the FA Cup. I think you got to put him in got potential. He's a really exciting kid, I think, this one.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like, you can't put him in does a job yet because he hasn't had the experience in the fan. But I feel if he went out on loan for maybe 1-2 seasons at a push, I think he could really improve. Seriously. That's what we need. I believe he's definitely got potential there.
I think him going on loan would be fantastic for him to a championship side. I think there's nothing worse than really sitting on the bench, not playing much. But again, if he is on that bench, he's learning from Jurgen Klopp. He's learning from some fantastic midfielders at the club. But I think to get your match fitness and to get used to playing in a physical league, that going to the championship would really benefit him. But yeah, absolutely, he's got potential. Now, me and you, I know we have different opinions on this next guy, is Dejan Lovren. Now, Lovren, for me, the only reason I would put him in sell him is because I think now is the perfect time to do so because you can get money for him. And if it wasn't COVID-19 and a normal transfer window, I would say you could get about 20 million for him, maybe pushing 20 mil. And I think he would be a perfect defender for someone in Italy. You know, it's a bit of a slower pace. And it just makes sense to cash in on him now with the fact that you got so many good centre-backs at the club. I personally would sell him. What are your thoughts on him?
I don't know. We have got some extremely good centre-backs like Joe Gomez, but we'll get on to him later. But I feel like Dejan Lovren, he's got the experience. Like, we need someone who's fair enough. We can get all these youngsters and get all, the unexperienced players in that play amazing at the moment. But we need someone who we can bring on, say we're 4-3 up. We need someone we can bring on, say the 85th minute, who can just last out that game alongside Van Dijk, or someone who's got like the physicality, just the experience of playing the game. Really, we need someone who can just win that game for us, just win it out. And I feel like he's a great player, so that's why I put him in. Does a job, does a job. He definitely hasn't got potential because I feel like he's almost at the end of his game. So yeah, does a job. Well, does a job, I'm going to say.
Okay, we'll put him in, does a job then. As always, you're the Liverpool fan. You have the deciding vote. Next up is a player I'm a massive fan of, and I think if he was at another club, maybe a little bit of smaller club, we spoke about this before, Divock Origi, if he was at somewhere like Celtic or something like that, he would absolutely smash it in Scotland. And, he scored some really important goals for you, obviously, against Barcelona in the Champions League, against Everton in the league as well. So he scored a lot of important goals for you guys. I think you put him in, does a job. I don't think you want to sell him because that cover for the front three isn't there. Obviously, losing out to Timo Werner to Chelsea isn't great. But, I would say does a job. What are your thoughts on Divock?
Definitely agree, does a job. Again, he can play almost any position up front. We haven't seen as much from right wing, but we saw, for example, when Mane was out, he was playing left wing, he can play centre forward, he was playing striker. So I think players like that are good to have in your club because even if you have a few injuries, you can still play him in no matter what. Obviously, if it's a defensive role, can't play him really in there. But if it's an attacking role, you can play him anywhere over the front three. I reckon. He's just a good player to have as a backup.
Definitely, and I agree with you, mate. I think he does a job, but for his own personal career, I would be looking to move on if I was him. Maybe a mid-table Bundesliga club could do with him, or someone up in Scotland. Next up then is Fabinho, bought in from Monaco for around 35 million, which I think is an absolute bargain. I think he just is that anchor in the midfield, allowing the likes of Oxlade-Chamberlain to go forward, giving the freedom for Henderson and for Wijnaldum to do what they want to do. I think he's been brilliant filling that centre-back as well. I think he's been fantastic for you guys. I personally would put him in great player.
I would agree. He's not good enough to go in God tier, I don't think. So great players, definitely right for him. As you say, he's been playing CDM. We know he can play that position, and we also know he can play centre-back. So even if he was in the starting 11, I'm sure Klopp would be like, okay, maybe he should go on the sub bench and we can get one centre-back out of the sub, and also he can cover for our CDM as well.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Yeah. 100% in great player. He's actually the only player we've got in great player so far. Next up then is Gini Wijnaldum. He's going to be potentially in great player for me. I think he covers a lot of great positions, and I think he's come on quite a lot over the last 2 years. You know, when he was signed from Newcastle for 25 million, people are like, what, 25 mil for Wijnaldum? And yet he hasn't really smashed it for Newcastle, but he's really worked into the system. I think that's what Liverpool do so well, is that their system is so good and everyone has a role within that system and knows their role. And it means that you look at the midfield is probably not in the top 5 in the Prem, because you compare it to City's, like even United's. I think United's midfield with Pogba and Bruno Fernandes, talent-wise, is better than Liverpool's, but does it work in the system as well as Liverpool's? Clearly not. So for me, Wijnaldum has to go in great player. What do you think about Wijnaldum?
Completely agree, great player. I mean, I know we're not talking about his international career, but if you see what he does in Dutch for Netherlands, fantastic. If he could do that in Liverpool, if he could smash that in Liverpool, playing in that same position, that centre mid stroke cam, I think he's going to be getting a goal or assist every game.
Mm.
And he, I don't know, I feel like he is definitely a not great player for me. But I feel like Liverpool probably use him a bit better in a sense.
Yeah, and
Definitely a great player.
I think he could have a more of an attacking role for Liverpool. I guess that's what you're trying to say, is that, you know, he needs that freedom to go forward. But I think you have such good front three that work so well, and we'll get onto them obviously in a bit, that maybe he fits into that role that a little bit better. Next up is another youngster, Harvey Elliott, joined from Fulham, I think last summer it was, and chose Liverpool over Real Madrid. For me, there's only one place you can put him. He's got potential.
Definitely agree. We haven't seen enough of him yet. We don't know what. Well, we've got a rough idea of what he's like, but I don't think we can class him as does his job because he hasn't been playing too much in the Prem. So we haven't seen his full potential. So definitely got potential.
Exactly. He's a young lad. He hasn't developed completely yet. He's not exposed to Premier League football, so it's very difficult to put him anywhere else, but got potential. But of what I've seen of him, he looks like a really, really exciting player. Next up's another English player. It's Joe Gomez, the centre-back. Can play right-back, but mostly played centre-back. Partnered partnered Van Dijk for most of the season. Where would you put him?
It was an interesting one. I was thinking, I was going to put a great player, but I feel like the only reason I was going to put him great player, I put him as a job, because he does do a fantastic job for Liverpool. I feel like he's undershadowed a bit by Van Dijk, because you think of the Liverpool centre-backs and you go immediately Van Dijk, but also Joe Gomez is still doing one hell of a job. So it was in between does a job and great player, and I've just gone with does a job.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know. I know it's a bit.
I personally would put him in great player just because I think his ability to carry the ball out from the back, his pace is really good as well. So he can get back to make those last-minute tackles. And I think he'll be starting for England at the Euros at that centre-back role. But if you're happy to put him in does a job, he's going and does a job. You're happy to put him there?
It was right on the big. Like, if he's a right back, then he definitely does a job, no matter what. But you know what? I'll change it to great player.
Oh, okay.
It was very in between. That'll be.
And I think he's still young for a centre-back, so he's got time to develop and time to get better. Next player we got is Jordan Henderson. He's your captain, and you know my thoughts on him. Very simply, I think he's a crap footballer, pretty much. I don't think he's that special. I don't think he does that much. Obviously, he's not crap because he's a Premier League footballer. He's a Champions League winning midfielder. But if he wasn't captain of Liverpool and didn't have those leadership qualities, he'd be playing for a mid-table Premier League team at best, in my opinion. I think he'd probably be at like a West Ham or someone like that. I could easily see him playing for West Ham. He'd be such a West Ham signing. But yeah, I would put him in as does a job, maybe even mayor. But I think because of his leadership qualities, that does bump him up to maybe even great player. What do you think?
I wouldn't put him in great player. I've put him does his job because we don't see as much of him as I'd like to. Like, fair enough, he plays, but I don't feel like he gets on the attack as much as he should do. that makes sense. We don't hear his name as much. But as a leader, I'll put him as great player. But as an actual player, I'd put him in as a job.
And I can't believe the fact that he's been touted to be the PFA Player of the Year. I think that's just ridiculous, to be honest. But there we go.
Yeah,
Next up,
if it was like a PFA Leader of the Year, definitely, but not player in general. I wouldn't put him as a player in general.
Maybe they could have something like Captain of the Year or something like that.
Yeah.
But he's not Player of the Year. You know, you think about the quality of players who have been playing this season. Many are in front of him. Next up, then, is centre back. We've got Joel Matip. He has lost his position, you'd say, really to Joe Gomez over the past few months, maybe the year or so. But I've got him in, does a job. Getting him on a free from Schalke was good business. And, you know, if you wanted to get rid of him this summer, then you could still get a decent amount for him. Where would you put Matip?
I'd agree. He's a great. I think he'd be a great substitute centre. Well, he is. I think a great substitute centre back. He's one of those again that can come on very late in the game and just hold the win first, and that's all we need really.
Absolutely.
That's all, to be honest.
We'll put him in, does a job. So far we got 2 players in God tier, 3 players in Great Player. We have got 7 players in Does a Job, 4 in Got Potential. No one in Mare so far, and only 1 player is sitting in Sell Him. Next up then is the least boring man in football is James Milner. He loves his Ribenas, but I think he's a really good player, and I think for Liverpool he's been a fantastic servant. I think he got him on a free from City like 5 years ago. His ability to play right back and to take penalties as well. I think I did say great player beforehand, but I think I'm going to put him in Does a Job now. Where would you put him?
As a captain, again, it's like Henderson. I'll put him as great player. Like, I think he's a great leader. His penalties have been exceptional. But I'm going to put him as Does a Job because I don't think he's at the potential, for example, especially left back of Andy Robertson. And I can't see him fitting in the Liverpool starting 11 for too much longer, at least. The way the pace, we're getting players at pace. And I think he's going to fall behind a little bit next 2 years.
Yeah, I agree with you. He's not getting any younger either, and that is something he'll have to think about. Next up then is Navigator, signed from RB Leipzig 2 summers ago now. Injured a lot of the time, but showing a lot of promise. I don't think we've seen enough of him really to judge on him, and I think he's still quite a young player. So I've personally got him in Got Potential.
It was a challenging one for me. I was going to do Does a Job, but then I was thinking, again, we haven't seen him that much. We haven't seen his style of play. We haven't seen how he runs with the ball. So that's why I've agreed with you for once and just gone with Got Potential.
Absolutely. Well, you know, great minds think alike and all that kind of thing. Next player is someone that I'd never heard about. I don't think either of us are really... You may have heard of him, but we haven't. I don't think he's played any first-team football for the side. It is Dejan Hoover. I'm not sure how you say his name. A right-back Dutch. I think he's 19 years old. And there's only one place to put him for me. That's Got Potential. We just simply have not seen enough of him. In agreement
He's
with
extremely young. Yeah, extremely young player. He needs... I'd put him out on loan. But then again, like, who do we have as a reserve right back if he leaves? It's a bit of a iffy one, but definitely got potential.
Absolutely. Next up then, we have Mo Salah. God tier, surely?
Nothing. You can't put him in great play. He's got to be God tier, 100%. Can't go anywhere else.
You don't want to sell him?
I don't think so, you know. I've got a feeling that... Yeah, just a little bit, yeah.
You don't want to sell him to Swansea for $5 million?
That's definitely going to happen. Signing of the season for you guys next year.
You know, it is what it is, isn't it? Next up then is Nathaniel Klein, the right back. He was on loan at Bournemouth last season, has not played that much this season. I think it's time to cash in on him personally. I would sell him.
I don't know. I feel like I was mentioning before that we don't have a reserve right back and we've got Klein. I'll put Meh because I don't think Liverpool at the point where we can go, okay, we're selling, because then we've got that Van. What was his name? The other right back that we just on about?
Van Hove, I think.
Because then we'd have to use him our substitute right back, and I don't think Liverpool are in a position where we're like, yes, we can use him as a sub, because he hasn't got the experience. As Nathaniel Klein, as you say, he's been to Bournemouth, not the best of seasons at Bournemouth, but he's got that experience.
Definitely. We'll put him in there for now. Next up is Bobby Firmino, probably the guy with the best teeth in football. What do I think of Bobby Firmino? I think he's a good player. I think he does a job for Liverpool, and I think the fact that Mane and Salah are such good goal scorers, that his responsibilities are very different. But if I was Liverpool, when they had the opportunity to sign Werner, I would have gone and got Werner, and I'd have got rid of Firmino. I think Werner's a better striker than Firmino. That's my opinion. But Werner isn't going to Liverpool, so I think you got to put him in great player.
I've gone with great player as well, but I was also going to make the point that, if we did get Timo Werner, I think our attack would be a bit too quick, because Bobby Firmino is one of the players that can set back. He doesn't have to, run the count. He can get in there a bit late, and he still scores some pretty good goals. So yeah, for me, I don't want to say it because he's an outstanding player, but it's got to be a big player. He's a bit. Would you say he's a bit shadowed by the likes of Mane and Salah? That's what I was going to ask.
It's a good question. I think his role is very different. He works in Liverpool's system. I've said this quite a few times, but it's true. The system works so well because everyone has a role and does their role properly. He knows he's not going to score 25 goals a season, but he knows he might get the pre-assist, or he might link up. He might be the guy to play that through ball or to draw defenders in or make that run. So he's very, very important for Liverpool. He just works well in the system. I don't think he's overshadowed, but as a striker who's going to score goals, I think he does need to score a little bit more. But I think his all-round play is fantastic, to be honest. Yeah. Next up then is Sadio Mane. I think there's only one place to put him. God's here, surely.
Yeah, definitely sell him. No, definitely God's here for me, 100%.
Yeah, he's just exceptional, isn't he? And I think he's even better than Salah. I think he's the best player at Liverpool right now. I think he's got to go in there. So it's pretty simple for me.
See what happens after Corona, I suppose. But yeah, he's definitely out of the starting 11. Out of the forwards, he's got to be the best for me. 2 seasons ago, obviously, when Salah was absolutely on fire, I wouldn't have said that. But now that we've seen Mane come out of his shell, and I thought 2 seasons ago he was under the shadow of Salah a bit, but now he's came out of his shell and he's fantastic. Best thing Liverpool have done in the last few years, I reckon.
Oh, yeah, and I think Liverpool have made a lot of really smart signings in the last few years, and at reasonable prices as well. Next up is probably the best right back in Europe, is Trent Alexander-Arnold. God tier, easy.
Well, if we put Robertson in God tier, we can't leave out the other one. They just play so well together. You can't put one in and leave the other out. Got to be God tier for me.
Absolutely. He's straight in there. I think the maturity he's showing for guys like 20 years old is ridiculous. And his ability on the pitch is just mind-blowing at times. So, absolutely. Next up, we have a youngster. His name is Sepp van der Berg, signed from PSC Zwolle in the Dutch league last summer. We haven't seen much of him. I just know he's 67 rated on FIFA. That's all I know about him, pretty much. Got potential.
It's got to be. Again, we haven't seen him play properly. He's got to go got potential until we can see him again and see him come out of his shell, see him play in the first team side, and just see how he performs. So got potential for me, definitely.
Next up is Van Dijk. I think he's overrated. I think he's not very good, and I think personally you should sell him. I don't think he's very good. I'm joking. I think he's the best centre back in the world. I think he is in God's tier. I think he's changed your team. I think he's made your team into a Premier League winning side and a Champions League winning side. God's tier, easy.
I mean, I've got to say, I feel sorry for Southampton. The players they've sold to us and how they've turned out. I don't feel terrible because we're top of the league. Van Dijk, absolutely successful, absolutely fantastic. Cannot believe how much he's improved at Liverpool, to be honest. But I think there's only one place for him, God tier.
Exactly. Definitely. And the final player on the team before we rank the whole squad in general is Xherdan Shaqiri. Not played much for you, really been a bit pot player, but a pretty good bargain from Stoke when he left there. Thoughts on him? Where would you put Shaqiri?
I was going to put him got potential, but I realised we've actually seen him play quite a bit. Like Klopp's been playing him, especially before the lockdown. Klopp was playing him quite a bit, so that's why I've put as a job. But I feel again he's an amazing player to be on like the 70th, 80th minute to maybe try and get that goal or just keep the ball at forward in general. To be up against Salah, well, Salah in the right wing position, it's just I can't believe if the way that. If he was crap, we would never hear his name, especially going against someone against Salah. And I feel like he's done better than I expected, let's say.
For sure. So are you happy to put him in? Does a job?
100%.
Let's put him in there. So that is the whole team. What we're going to do now, we're going to rank the whole team all together, the squad all together. Do we put them in God tier? A great team, does a job, a got potential team, a mare team, or a crap team? For me personally, I think it's a great team. Where would you put them?
It's between great and God. I don't know, but then again, you got to look at the top of the league, so you can't really say they're a great team, and then say if someone did a City one and they put them in God tier, it doesn't make sense. At least at the current moment, so I'm going to go definitely not biased in the slightest. Going to put them in God tier.
I think they're on the border of God tier. I think if they can do this season again next year, I think then absolutely. I think that's what makes a team a God team. You look at United's dominance in the early 2000s and late, like in 2010. You look at what Guardiola did with City. They were on the border of God tier. You look at Barcelona and Guardiola, that is a God tier. I just think they're on the cusp, but I'm happy to put them in God tier, but you have to take the crap for it.
Well, I know there's going to be like United fans, and they're going to hate me after this, but yeah, I'm going to go God tier. It's got to be. For me, at least.
He's in. So there we go. That is the full team. So we got quite a few in God tier. We got 4 in great player. We got loads in does a job and got potential. 1 in meh and 1 in sell him. And for some random reason, we got another Fabinho down here. But there